Hello, you. Yes, you. This is Usayome Sale from Ways Primetime. Now, we appreciate your continued support for watching our content, following us across all our social media. But we've noticed, for those of you watching us on YouTube, 88.5% of you who watch our content aren't subscribed to our channel. Why? Now, if you are enjoying our content, you enjoy our shows, and you want to stay updated on all things Ways, it's time to hit that subscribe button below. Now, subscribing isn't just for you. It's for the growth of our channel. It helps us get bigger and better. With your support, we can continue to bring even more intriguing and exciting content. How about you subscribing right now and being a part of our community?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's surely a new and beautiful week. Excitingly for a lot of people, the holiday continues today. Well, I welcome you specially to Ways Breakfast hashtag, What Are You Saying? And now, today's topic is one that touches every home, every community, and the future of our nation. We're talking about education, but more specifically, those at the heart of education, our teachers. More than ever, I want to hear what you're saying, your suggestions, your comments, because on this show, we talk the good, the bad, the ugly. And one thing is for sure, we bring it to you fresh from the oven and serve you hot and properly. And as I said, today we focus on the foundation of every learning experience, which is our teachers. The topic for today is investing in teachers, a pathway to educational reform. But let's be honest, we all talk about reforming the educational sector, but how often do we focus on those who carry the heaviest responsibilities within the system? Teachers are not just conveyors of knowledge, they are nation builders, community leaders, and mentors. Yet the question remains, are we truly investing in them? Well, of course, I am your one and only Okikiola Taiwo Jalukmo, bringing this conversation home to you. And of course, I'm still sharing the table with the beautiful God's Beauty Israel. Good morning, God's Beauty.
Good morning, Okiki.
How are you? How was your weekend?
Fantastic.
So on Friday, we spoke about trying ran meat for the first time. So did you?
No, I didn't. I told you guys now.
Police, come and carry this guy.
Oh my God.
But how was your
tell
weekend?
Me, how was yours? It was fantastic, really. It was beautiful.
What did you do? Tell me.
What did I do? I think rest. Yes, and I had, I think the weekend was just for me and my younger sister, really. We've not had that, very sweet moments together
Bonding
for a
time
long
in
time.
a while.
Exactly. I mean, most of the time when I'm at home, it's more like I'm at home, but I'm not at home, if you get it. But then I was like, okay, you know what? Let's even see what's going on in your life, really. What's going on? And given that, she's on break. I mean, she's a teacher as well, so they're on break now.
Oh, wonderful.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's spend time together. Let's see what's going on. And, we just had the normal girls' conversation, work-related, everything in between, really. So, yeah, it was fantastic. What was yours? Tell me.
You already know. Bunch. Oh,
my God.
I ate. Maybe I didn't get enough sleep because usually when there's a lot of family around, there are conversations that go into 2 a.m., 3 a.m. because it's always a moment to catch up just like you did with your sister. So it was short sleeps but very full of moments.
I like it.
And catching up. So I'm excited. I'm back. But I would have loved to take this Monday off too.
But you still go back for meets, more meets now. I know that one for sure.
Something like that. Till you finish.
I like it.
I'll be biting it till you finish. But yes, it was an eventful weekend. And I hope our audiences also had a wonderful weekend as we both did. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is how we do it on Ways Breakfast. Hashtag What Are You Saying? As I mentioned earlier, you are the main ingredient in all our conversations. Mondays are usually about Nigeria and all its spheres of affairs. And today is one you should stick around for. Our phone lines are always open to you. Please call us on 070-2500-7749 or 070-1424-2420. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV, please click that subscribe button now, like and share the link. You can also tune in to channel 145 on your GoTV and do not miss this. We'll go on a break right now, and when we return, we'll take you through the top stories making headlines around the globe. Please stay tuned. Well, welcome back to the show. Now, let us take a look at what's making the headlines today. Today, we'll be highlighting the top stories from the pages of The Punch, The Guardian, and, of course, the international papers. Taking us through the international papers, God's Beauty.
All right, straight into the South China Morning Post. By the top left corner, we have the Trump, the dollar, and the yuan. And center top, we have White House to send in National Guard. Then by the top left corner, we have the HK Pianist Win Major Award. The headline is screaming dollar peg, key success factor, and will stay. Then at the secondary headline, that's just below the main headline, we have firms caution to keep national interest in mind. Bottom banner, which is the last headline on the newspaper, has Beijing signals readiness to deal on rare earth supplies in talks with the United States. So the headline I want to quickly talk on, because literally all the headlines here are very, very do I say catchy? Yes, because it's literally just going back to the difference between China and the United States. But then I want to, highlight this particular story, which is the White House to send in National Guard. So we have the ICE-led immigration raids were conducted in Los Angeles and nearby neighborhoods like Paramount, resulting in the arrest of dozens of individuals across multiple locations. Now, these raids triggered large-scale protests in downtown LA, where demonstrators blocked the 101 freeway, where vehicles are set ablaze, including driverless taxis, now and clashed with law enforcement over several nights. In an uncommon move, President Trump has deployed 2,000 National Guard troops under federal Title 10 authority to restore order, despite opposition from California's governor and LA's mayor. So I feel like this headline is something for us to highlight, just giving more, details or updates on what's going on with the whole immigration policies in the United States, right? So right now there's riots happening. I will not call it protest, because it's one thing to say that you don't like Trump policy, right? And you guys go ahead to protest and say, just talk to him and say, oh, probably there should be something that you guys can work on. But then having to set cars ablaze, cause riot, just like going back to one of those protests that we had here in Nigeria, where, you guys have left what you guys are doing and you guys are not going ahead to destroy people's shops and all. That has nothing to do with the government, So at this point, what, Trump, the move Trump, decided to deploy was telling about 2,000 National Guard troops to, go and secure the area. And I think that that's something that, that needs to happen, because if you've passed the normal course of, doing something, you're not causing riots, causing commotion. I think at that point, you now need, the federal, government to intervene, and that's exactly what has happened. So yeah, that is making the headline because, of course, people, everybody has different opinions to what's going on, especially when it concerns immigration and what's happening in the United States. But yeah, that's all I have for you on this newspaper today.
One mistake people make when they are trying to protest for their rights in that sense is that they leave out the fact that it's civilians like you that also own these shops, and it has nothing to do with government, they're also paying taxes, they're experiencing the same economical crisis. And I remember when you were mentioning the same protest, and I remember ShopRite was one of the, when they were talking about the South Africa and Nigeria issue, and then ShopRite was one of the targets for these people. But because lack of information or common sense is not common in that sense, is that people did not know that some of these establishments are franchised from the original owners, and the person that actually owns those business are Nigerians just like you. So it doesn't usually make sense to me when protest or demanding for your rights becomes something that you're now harming your fellow civilians, or you're putting damage to property, and not necessarily government property, but then property of people just like you. So I hope that, I like that Trump has actually done that to restore law and order, yes, but I'm also hoping that it doesn't lead to cases of deaths and yes, exactly. So let's just hope that he's doing the right thing properly. Okay, let's quickly bring it back to the Nigerian newspaper. We have on The Guardian, businesses leverage price adjustments to rein in FX losses, clean books. Troops undercover 27 illegal oil sites, arrest 43 in Niger Delta. Kwankwanso received 1,230 APC supporters to NNPP. Ondo PDP berates Aiyedatiwa's refusal to complete Akeredolu's project. We lost millions to Dover cancellation. Kano government laments. Lagos political storm clears as Tinubu forgives Sanwo-Olu in GAC brokered truce. And I think Uwa really liked this story because she posted somewhere on our social media where we also had the conversation talking about what was the issue between Tinubu and, you know, Sanwo-Olu. It almost seemed like there was a video that was trending as at the point where he was greeting every other person, and then when he got to Sanwo-Olu, he just skipped him like he didn't exist. And that was like a public thing. And I saw Uwa talking about it. So let's say that for the good news to Sanwo-Olu in particular, Tinubu has forgiven. I'm here to bring you the news that he has forgiven you for all your trespasses. But that was a weird one. But looking at how a random video, could tell so many stories. He greeted so many people so lovingly, and then just skipped by him. And now it is on the headline saying that he has finally forgiven him in the GAC brokered truce. But another story here reads, which is also coming up, is the June 12 story, Tinubu to address NAS, confer national honors on lawmakers. The story here, another story here reads, economic back on track, but not yet. Uhuru says, Bagudu. And I think Ubuntu is you are because we are, right? But what is Uhuru? There was no explanation there, so let's just move on for that, because I was wondering what it was. Serap also says, Serap Huriwa also urges Tinubu to drop APC regs and fears manipulation. Imperative of full disclosure in Emefiele's 753 Abuja duplexes. Every single time I hear about these duplexes, I'm always amazed how one person can amass such buildings. 753 is going to take in fact, it's going to take an adult like me to take my time to count 700 just by my head. And I'm looking at somebody counting 753 duplexes, buildings that were of high quality construction. What kind of money is CBN going to be paying you to actually build such? And that's just one out of many. And the way they have also said that they want this building to sort of have low-income earners have access to it. These have middle class can also have access to it. But these buildings, from the video I saw when the whole thing first came up, these are exquisite buildings. It's like a high-end building in an entire estate. So on what scale are they going to allow people or low-income earners access those things? Of what payments is this going to happen? But I'm glad for some reasons that these kind of people or these kind of things come out where you know that that building, obviously the only reason why it was seized is because there's a lot of conspiracy around him, if it was legit, if what he was being paid was enough for him to get such duplexes and many others, I'm not sure that he will not be able to fight for, you know, those things. But it's almost like everybody is silent because they're like, let's not go and put mouth before they'll drag us in it. But that's literally the update on the Guardian newspaper on some of the stories. And the Punch also has a few stories for us. On ground rent, 34 embassies risk closure Tuesday. FCTA probes PDP, FRRS, and others payments. Tinubu approved extension ends today. Germany, Russia, Turkey on defaulters list. We also have another story here saying Discos raise bills 107% despite poor power. Matawale Zamfara governor face of over defection plot. But this goes on the Punch newspaper too, is the fact that, yes, there's poor power outage. A lot of areas, I'll talk specifically for Lagos, a lot of areas don't have lights up until today. And even when they get lights, about an hour or maybe peanuts here, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. But by the time you put everything together, it's maybe up to 5 hours. And everybody is just mad at a lot of things. So I think that raising the bills 107% extra without actually giving power or giving enough for people to work or businesses to work properly makes no sense to me. And
I agree.
I think the government should actually come in at this point to also put regulation. I think one of the things that we lack the most in Nigeria is regulation. Regulation implementation is like there's somewhere, you know, those English film where they say you're gonna find the forbidden egg or the forbidden fruit, and you have like 10 people searching for it and people die. It almost seems like that's implementation thing is like a forbidden egg that people are afraid to get to or something. So beyond all of these statements telling us that we're going to face more increment and less results. Yes, what we should know is that there's going to be regulation in that point so that there's balance between the discos and, you know, the receivers in that sense. But then the other news on the Punch is just having the Honorable Minister, which is Wike, congratulating and showing many other things like the projects that he has done. Renewed hope. But basically, that's all we have on today's newspaper. This morning, I would implore you to join us as we discuss educational reforms. We'll be joined by an expert guest in a minute. We'll be taking your questions and comments live on our social media platforms. So be sure to join the conversation. We'll be right back after this break. Please stay tuned. I describe myself as a polyhumanitarian, someone who believes politics should be rooted in love for country and empathy for its people. I'm thrilled to introduce to you Politics Uncensored, a show dedicated to tackling the political challenges that matter most to Nigerians. This is more than just a show. It's a space for honest, unfiltered conversations about the issues that shape our nation. From policy reforms to elections, leadership tussles to governance at all levels, and the overall political landscape in Nigeria. We will dive deep into how politics is impacting our everyday lives. So join me on this journey as we challenge the status quo, spark dialogue, and work together to build a brighter future for Nigeria. Let's make our voices heard and drive the change we deserve. Welcome back to the show. Today, I mentioned earlier that we're discussing a very important topic, which is investing in teachers, a pathway to educational reform. And we've had so many conversations about teachers, education, but now we're focusing more on how these reforms can actually encourage, a better Nigeria. And investing in teachers is one of the most effective strategies to drive sustainable educational reform. Teachers are at the heart of learning, and they influence student outcomes, shape future leaders, and play a pivotal role in curriculum delivery. However, many educational systems, especially in developing nations like Nigeria, undervalue teachers in terms of training, remuneration, and professional development. Some of the key considerations that we've seen that I would maybe prefer in that sense to improve teacher training is the fact that continuous learning is crucial for teachers to stay relevant and effective in a dynamic classroom environment. Teacher remuneration and welfare, competitive salaries and incentives can also help attract and retain high-quality educators. The role of government and policymakers is very important because educational reform depends heavily on government policies and budgetary priorities. Teachers are change agents, and teachers, more than ever, are instructors. They are community leaders and mentors. And teachers also need to be equipped with digital skills and resources so that they can also promote and enhance learning outcomes for students. We also have the issues of student-teacher ratio and overwork. Workload is one thing that's very big when it comes to teachers, and overburdened teachers cannot deliver quality education. No one has delivered anything quality from being overworked. And, if we also can have respect in that sense. And when I was putting this in my thoughts, I was like, one of the things that teachers suffer from is the fact that nobody wants to be. If you ask any child now, or even back in the days, if you ask a child that, what do you want to be in future? Is it that doctor, lawyer, engineer, or anything in that sense? Almost like the teacher is looking at how the shoes of the teachers were back in the days where the headmaster's trouser is like almost to his chest. And then, there was a way they painted how teachers usually look as compared to when you eventually get to be a doctor and you become a lawyer and all of these things. It was like it was a profession that was not supposed to be. It looks like a prof profession in that sense, and then you're just supposed to pass by these people or pass through these people, and they just go and do your thing. They're just bound. It's as if they used to select people. And I'm sorry I'm referring all of these things to Nigerian movies, but when they go and pick maidens from different villages, so it's almost like they intentionally pick teachers to be poor people to teach other people to go and make money. So that was like a misconception that I saw over the years growing up, and I'm very glad that we are bringing this conversation back to light. And one of the things that I love is that we also have two expert guests who's going to be discussing this with us. But then to help us unpack this vital topic is someone who speaks for the Nigerian student community and understands the pulse of our campuses and classrooms. We also have, that is Eniola, of course, Eniola Orowole. I hope I pronounced that correctly. We also have Dr. Peter waiting for us on standby. So please join me as we welcome our guests this morning. Welcome, Dr. Peter. Do I have you here? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. I'm greeting you. Good morning.
Good morning. Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes, so let's go straight into the conversation. You're an educationalist. So when we talk about investing in teachers, what does that truly mean to you?
Yeah, investing in teachers, first and foremost, starts with having the right philosophy about teaching, understanding that teachers should be front and center in whatever we do in the field of education, and that without them, nothing moves. It doesn't matter how much money you bring to the classroom or the kind of equipment you put in a laboratory. Teachers are the ones who use those things to occasion and orchestrate, knowledge, skills, and the right values to ensure that our children find classrooms and the school system engaging enough to want to go there every day. So if you want to invest in them, you first have to acknowledge them, respect them, believe that their job is critical and that their role in society is indispensable, especially for a society like Nigeria crying for development. And investing in them would then mean that you pay them well, first and foremost, so that they will have enough incentive to also want to invest in themselves. But so don't just keep thinking that investing in them only begins and ends with sending them back to school. A good number of them already have adequate skills, knowledge, and values to be able to make things happen in the classrooms. But the reason why we are not getting the best results from many teachers in Nigeria is the fact that parents disrespect them. The school owners don't think that they matter a lot, even though without them classrooms cannot function. The policymakers haven't recognized the indispensable place of education in our national development, and so they are not paying enough attention to teachers. They are not upgrading their work environment. They are not thinking that they should be paid as well as those who work in banking, in oil, and manufacturing sectors. And so investing in them would mean that you, apart from giving them opportunities to continue to learn, you have to ensure that you pay them truly living wage so that they'll be able to put food on the table at home for their families. And that way they will not have too many distractions, because when people don't have money, they have to hustle to be able to put food on the table. And you also have to make their classrooms safe by ensuring that you work with relevant security agencies to police the system and make them want to go to school and concentrate, knowing that nobody will lose his or her life, just because he is a teacher. So that's, in summary, what it means to think about investing in teachers, especially in the context of Nigeria.
Thank you so much. I love how you expatiate on all of these things. Now, let's start with rewriting the wrong, right? There are a lot of things that you've made mention of. The fact that, there's a certain mentality where we look at, our teachers. Just like she said, there's that mentality of, well, teachers are supposed to be like this. And that's why she made emphasis on the fact that it looks like, when it comes to teachers, they are picked somehow, So let's talk about changing the mentality. How do we change this stereotype that is already happening? Just like you said, from the teachers and from the parents' angle, there's no respect, even down to some students as well. I mean, there was a time where this particular word, school as scam, was reigning, was trending, because that was the mentality, that was the belief system that was happening. So how exactly do we start changing this thing? Because I think that for starters, it is even a mentality thing, because when you start seeing somebody as a better person, that's where you want to start thinking of investing. Do you understand? So where exactly do we even start from? Can we trace this thing back to somewhere and say, okay, this is where the problem started from, and then we can now start, solving out the problems?
Yes, we have models that have worked. I do research in the education space globally. The model I like the most is the model they use in the Scandinavian region, where you have Finland, in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Iceland. And when you go to those countries, on one occasion when I went on a research trip to Finland, I sat with one of the education leaders there, and I did try to find out where they got it right from. And she told me that it started with the politicians, that the politicians got to a point where they recognize that you can't build a good society if you don't pay attention to education. And in paying attention to education, you have to recognize that teachers are the tools that you can use to make classrooms engaging, to make classrooms interesting places that children want to go to. And so so politicians in that kind of environment come up with legislations that recognize the indispensable place of teachers and the good policies and classrooms and laboratories that will help them to get to where they have to get to. But in Nigeria, we don't have similar legislations. We haven't been able to put it in our laws to the effect that teachers are indispensable for national development. And so that's where we have to start from. Politicians haven't given teachers the respect they need. They keep worrying about roads, electricity, they keep worrying about security. The truth we know is that if politicians recognize the indispensable place of teachers in moving Nigeria forward, then they will make legislations that will say every teacher in Nigeria cannot be let to go home at the end of the month without having a minimum of 150,000 in his or her pocket. If you do that, then you'll be setting Nigeria up for accelerated development. As we speak, unfortunately for us as a country, we have a law called minimum wage law, which prescribes a minimum of 70,000 naira as what an illiterate worker has to go home with in a typical month. But we know that the average Nigerian teacher does not even earn up to 50,000 in a month. Many of them are earning as low as 25,000, some even in rural communities earn 15,000. And these are people you are dependent on to move your country forward. So we don't have enabling laws that compel governments and the private school owners to pay teachers well. Get legislations that insist that teachers are very critical for running a proper education system and say that the minimum the average teacher can earn in Nigeria is 150,000, for example. Really, that's what they have done in other societies. If you go to a place like Finland, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, and Iceland, what you find is that the social and economic status of a teacher is similar to that of a medical doctor and oil company worker in Nigeria. So we haven't taken teachers to that level, and we are looking for miracles from them. That is not going to happen. And the people who made this happen in those climes are politicians. They made enabling laws so that what teachers take home will not be dependent on whether a school leader is a good person or not. It's just statutory requirement that you pay teachers well. It's statutory requirement that you respect teachers. It's statutory requirement that teachers, no person enters a classroom and calls himself a teacher if he doesn't have, for example, a minimum of master's degree, which is the kind of thing you have in Finland. And so if you have laws that prescribe those kinds of minimum requirements for teachers to function and to grow and to love what they do, I tell you, Nigeria will start flying.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peter. I think that you have mentioned quite a number of things that I had already had plans to ask. You have addressed teachers' salaries, you have addressed reforms, specifically asking politicians to look into, increasing teachers' salary and, giving them the kind of light that they need in that sense. But over time, we've seen that, let's assume that this is not going to change anytime soon, but teacher, morale keeps declining in a lot of places. As I said, a lot of people used to be proud to be teachers. I taught just after secondary school for about 2 years, and it was exciting for me to also extend knowledge back. But at some point, it was almost like people were asking, what are you going to do with your life? Is it teaching? What's teaching going to do for you? And so that gave me that urge to feel that, okay, no, this is not a space, for me. But moving forward, I still went on to start up a school, get teachers to be there, and trying to get them to feel part of a community, part of a society is something that we have to do every day, every time teacher training. But you've mentioned parents, you've mentioned politicians, you've mentioned the society. So what can we do both as a society and, within institutions to leave that morale for teachers to realize that they're still the center of everything that happens around us?
Yeah, well, in a society where politicians have failed, which is our reality in Nigeria, what we might recommend as a temporary measure, it cannot be a permanent solution, is for parents to recognize that the kids in the classrooms are their children. And since they want their kids to be successful, to be globally competitive, and recognizing the fact that without teachers, they are not going to achieve those objectives, then they can come together and say, well, you know what, for those in public schools where not much is paid by way of school fee, that money we are not giving to government because our children are studying for free. Let's gather through PTA platforms and contribute money, monthly, quarterly, and annually, and use such money to augment the earnings of teachers, and also recognize and reward them in special ways, by way of awards. At like we're approaching the end of a session, so we shouldn't over concentrate on giving awards only to children who are taught by teachers. We should also recognize that without these teachers, our children will not be shining. And so let's make a deliberate effort to say thank you to them in very special ways. And not only by way of giving them money and buying gifts for them, we should first and foremost learn to say thank you for the work you have done on my child. I can see that the child is now reading better, the child is now writing better. And when teachers, when we don't understand what teachers are doing and we think they have made a mistake, we shouldn't march to the classrooms and slap them and then embarrass them and make uncomplimentary remarks about them in the presence of children. That is very, dehumanizing, and that's one of the reasons why many people who would love to teach have decided to quit the classrooms, because they are being disrespected by parents. So we can reverse all of that by using PTA platforms to insist that every parent must commit to respecting teachers and also contributing, some small amounts of money to augment what they're receiving from the school owners, especially those in the private school sector. Private schools are not paying significant amount of money by way of salaries. We just have about 1% of schools in private hands that are run as international schools and whose proprietors have money. But most of the private schools are not doing well at all. It's in terms of remuneration package. And I think that parents who have their children in these places should come together and help those school proprietors who probably don't also have a lot of money to make appropriate changes. And so that's the way to go. October 5 will be World Teachers Day. Let every PTA work towards it and start thinking about how we're going to recognize and reward teachers in very special ways. And even when it comes to training, parents too can take up that responsibility, because government has failed virtually at every level, whether it's local government, state or federal. They don't seem to understand how important education is. And you can understand why they are also not paying serious attention to these matters. Their own children are not in these spaces. Their own children study abroad. The few of them who have their children here in primary and secondary schools, they send them to international schools where they pay, sometimes as much as 10 million naira even per term to keep their children in those places. So they don't care what is happening to the children of the marginalized members of society. So those are, small things we can start doing as parents, and other stakeholders like those in the media, which is where people like you play. I'm glad that you people care enough to be able to devote about an hour this morning to put this matter on the table. And so thank you very much for what you're doing. I hope you don't get tired, and stop, putting us on the agenda as you use your medium to try to improve society. So these are some simple things we can start doing while we are still pushing for government to use the instrument of the law to compel society to put more money into education space, starting with paying teachers better, starting with equipping their classrooms with the gadgets they need to be able to make teaching pleasurable and engaging for children, and starting with laboratories that are populated with modern technology, so that our children not only hear but also see what the teachers are talking about. When we take access to those levels, you discover that the best brains will return to the school space, which is what we have found in other countries. In England, when it became obvious to them that people were not finding classrooms interesting places to go and work, they elevated their status above the status of the average, fresh graduate from the university. So in England, at some point, whereas the average fresh graduate was earning, let's say, about £23,000 per annum, they made that of the teachers, go as high as 26,000. So they made teachers earn more. And if you chose to study education in England, they will let you study for free, whereas others will pay about 9,000 pounds per annum. In places like Finland, Denmark, and Sweden, and other Scandinavian countries, all teachers are trained for free up to PhD, and they support them with money for laptops, money to attend international conferences, so that they can meet their colleagues in other climes and learn from them and continue to improve upon the work they do. And I think that we are not too poor to start thinking about emulating those kinds of countries, so that we can get off the ground when it comes to national development.
Thank you, Dr. Peter. I will take a breather at this point. You've said so much, and I think we just need to digest it and then come back after a few minutes. So please, our audiences, please stay with us. We'll be right back after this break.
Life is made up of moments, some that fill us with joy, others that test our strength. Welcome to Heartlines. This is our space to explore the highs and lows of human connection, the love, the heartbreak, and resilience that shapes our life. From relationships to friendships, parenting to partnerships, and so much more. Every week, we share stories and conversations that define us, navigating love, separations, the struggles of parenting, dealing with anxiety and managing the pressures and stress of life. Real conversations that bring us closer, helping us heal, grow, and connect. So join me Mondays through Fridays at 10 p.m. for Heartlines, the show where we connect hearts, have real conversations with real people, one story at a time.
Well, welcome back to the show. We still have Dr. Peter here, who has been giving us amazing insights on some of the ways that we can support teachers, some of the things that the government should also do to support teachers and highlight teachers. We also have Eniola here. We've been waiting for you. Welcome. But before, I wanted to quickly ask Dr. Peter something before we go straight to Eniola. As I mentioned earlier, that being young and starting teaching was something that I was extremely excited about, giving back the knowledge that I already had. But at some point, comments here, there, saying that it was not a good profession, it wasn't the way forward, there are other things to do other than being a teacher. And this is something that many young people face when it comes to choosing professions, where there's the mentality of what kind of profession will actually make sense. And in the world of AI now, it's almost like they're saying at some point teachers will not be needed anymore, because you're now going to have like a tablet doing the work, a computer doing the work. But first, attacking young people's stigmatization when it comes to going into the profession of teaching. What are some of the barriers that you have highlighted in the work that you do that young people face when they might want to enter the teaching profession?
Well, in the first place, our universities, especially the faculties of education, don't seem to have the best hands now who can give you the best skills to be able to run modern classrooms, because the way we teach is also not the way we should be teaching. And so one of the challenges the average teacher is having now is the fact that we are still being taught to be very autocratic in the way we manage our classrooms. And so we see children as empty heads who know little or nothing, and it's the teacher who comes into, as an omniscient individual who comes to provide the knowledge, the skills, and the values. But we know that that's not where the world is. The children are also resourceful, children are also knowledgeable in many areas. In the world of technology, of many topics, and issues, what you find is that even these children are better informed and better skilled than their teachers. But the average teacher in Nigeria has not been brought up to a level where he has become conscious of this reality. And so where teachers are not respecting children enough. They are my people. I run the largest teachers platform in the world. And I know that the teaching we are giving them is not really preparing them to be able to get the best out of these children. And it's not the fault of the teacher. It's the fault of government that runs the universities that train teachers for a modern society. So we are not getting it right there. So anybody who wants to become a teacher now should know that you won't get everything you need from the regular Faculty of Education in Nigeria. You should look beyond the shores of Nigeria. If your parents have money or you have money through another source, you can get out of the country, go to the Scandinavian region, Norway, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, or Sweden to go and get the latest thinking in the industry, so that you can distinguish yourself in very remarkable ways. So that's that. And remuneration is not going to improve anytime soon. So as you're learning how to teach, and if you think you are called to be a teacher, know that you shouldn't be teaching only for money. You should be teaching because it's a calling. And so the way to ensure you remain in the space, despite the fact that teachers are not paid well, is to think of having what the average teacher now calls side hustle. So you teach in a regular classroom on a typical day from about 8 o'clock till about 2. Then use your 4 to 7 p.m. to do extra work online. And there are many Nigerian parents, for example, who have migrated to Canada, US, and UK, who still discover that some of the teachers their children interacted with in Nigeria are actually better teachers than the ones that they have met in the new class, especially in terms of how much it costs to recruit somebody who can do tutorial with your child. So look at such parents abroad. They will pay you a significant amount of money that will augment what you're getting from the regular classroom in Nigeria. That way, you'll be able to earn enough to remain in our kind of spaces. And so don't quit teaching. But don't rely only on what Nigeria is giving you, whether it's by way of remuneration or by way of skill. Look outside the country to get better skills. Look outside the country to get more opportunities to teach and earn good money for your services.
All right, thank you so much. Is Eniola with us? Because I'd want to ask Eniola a question. Okay, so let me just ask Mr. Dr. Peter then. So I like, all of these things that you said, and I want us to talk a bit about teachers' training programs, right? First of all, I don't think that's something that I hear a lot. Let's even start with that. And secondly, what do you think this training program should actually entail? Because then, I like how you said that, going to just, for young professionals that want to, go into the teaching profession, it's not enough for you to just, go to school and go and study education and all of that. There are some other things that you need to do. So let's talk a bit about this teacher training program. If at all we have investors that want to invest into the teaching profession, right? What exactly do you think they should start with? I want us to touch on that.
Well, there are different levels of teaching. At the early childhood education level, emphasis should be on how to work with children and get them to play and develop creative minds through play. So we talk about playing and learning. In Nigeria, we worry a lot about children learning how to write and read and do mathematics at very early stages in their life. So what you find is that on a typical day in a typical nursery primary school, you find children who are being taught how to read and write. That's wrong. So teachers who go into these spaces should be helped to learn via appropriate teaching that before the age of 5, the primary interest of a teacher as you work with children should not be on helping them to learn how to read and write. It's when they get to primary school that becomes important. So if you're acquire skills on how to create and maintain safe spaces for children to play and develop their creative minds through play. That's important. And learn to provoke collaboration amongst children, learn to provoke team building amongst children, And you can achieve all of this without worrying about whether they're able to read or write. As a researcher internationally, one of the things that I found very amazing when, for example, the first time I went to Norway to do educational research was to find children who between the ages of 3 and 5 who were in a preschool. And what I discovered was that nobody was teaching them how to read and write. Okay, most of their day they spent it outdoors, and it is a very cold region. So the children will be well dressed for what they are going to experience, and they throw them into the field, and then the teachers will stay afar and monitor them, you know, to be sure that they are playing safe. But they fall, they get up, they fall into into mud. That's the real world, and they don't spend more than 25% of their time on a typical day in regular classroom. But in Nigeria, we do the opposite. The average Nigerian child spends minimum of 90% of his time on a typical day in a classroom that is air conditioned, especially for children of the elites. We are doing the wrong thing. We are not helping children to acquire creativity. So if you want to train teachers, that's for those at the preschool level, kindergarten level, our focus should be on how to help them to learn how to work with children, to acquire collaborative skills, team building skills, to learn how to play safe and develop creativity. When you now move to primary school, focus will be on how to help teachers to learn how to provoke the capacity to read and write, literacy, acquire literacy skills, helping them to learn how to teach numeracy. And in a variety of ways. Here, we just teach in one way. We don't bring in variety. So if we are trying to introduce, for example, Apple to children, so you need to interact on that for quite some time. We worry so much about lesson notes and lesson plans and trying to cover syllables. In proper societies, they no longer worry about covering syllables. You wait for the child to move at his or her pace. Every child is different, and so don't hurry the child too much. So if you're teaching him apple and its value, bring an apple, cut it into pieces, and let the child eat the apple, and then bake an apple pie with the child. Spend the whole day working with them on this. Have discussions around that. Get their parents to come and share apples, and do drama, varieties. Children want to learn in a variety of ways. It's not you bring a child who is 6 years old, all he does from morning till he closes, at the end of the day, is just to copy notes. We are doing the wrong thing. So if we are training teachers, we should train them on how to prepare lesson plans in line with the peculiarities of every child. You can't use one lesson plan to work with 20 children. When you do that, you are doing the wrong thing, because children have diverse objectives they are also trying to actualize in the classroom. All the children are not in the classroom for the same purposes. And we should stop worrying about, I think one of you did talk about the only professions we know in Nigeria are engineering, medicine, maybe accountancy, pharmacy, and computer science, which has joined them lately. Those are wrong things we are doing. And then at secondary school level, teachers should be trained to become experts in their subject matter. So if you are teaching biology, we should give you opportunity to become an expert in that subject. And then we shouldn't stop there. Knowing biology is not enough for you to be a teacher. You also have to be trained on the pedagogy of biology, how to teach biology. What we do currently is wrong. Most of the people who are teaching mathematics in Nigerian secondary schools, for example, are engineers. Because the assumption is that if you're an engineer, then you have to be good in mathematics. But engineers didn't go to school to learn how to teach. So we are using the wrong people to teach our children how to, prepare for global competitiveness. So we have to invest in teaching teachers how to teach, not just for them to become masters of the subjects they teach. Now, the opposite, again, is where you have somebody who knows how to teach, but is not a master of the subject matter. We need the two. You should be a master of the subject and also be a master of how to teach. And then if we pay you well, acknowledge you, respect you, and reward you, and recognize you.
I completely agree with you, Dr. Peter. Yeah. We need to hear from Eniola, who has been on standby, and his network has been giving him so much issue. And we have a few minutes to end the show. So I'd really like to ask Eniola, what roles do students and groups like NANS have in advocating for teachers' welfare? Do we have Eniola here?
Yeah. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I can't hear your answer. I can't hear the question very well.
I'm so sorry, your audio is not clear. I asked, what role do you think that students and group like the NANS have in advocating for teachers' welfare?
Well, teachers' welfare has been one of the priority of NAS right from time. But it is very unfortunate that we call the teaching a profession in Nigeria, but we are not treating them the same way. Teachers are the nation builders, but we are not treating them very right. Their salaries have been delayed, their welfare have been delayed. We have teachers that will retire and their severances and allowances and gratitude will not be paid. Some will die while advocating for their payment. It's very unfortunate, it's very bad, and we have been nagging on this for a very long time. NANS is not happy with the way teachers have been treated in the country. Like example, my father died as a retired school principal, trying to get his gratitude. We got his payment few days to his final burial ceremony, and we used part of the money to bury him. This happens to so many teachers retired and serving in Nigeria. So we have states in Nigeria that are owing salaries of teachers for months, even years. So we are NAS is not happy. Our position is very clear on this. We are not happy about the treatment of teachers in Nigeria. That's what I have to say for now.
Thank you so much, Eniola. And this is where we wrap up the show. I'm sure it's been a very insightful one. Thank you, Dr. Peter. Thank you, Eniola. And of course, God's Beauty, thank you for joining in this conversation. And to our viewers, of course, thank you for joining us on this exciting and inspiring conversation. Please do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms. You can also interact with us further. Drop a comment, and most importantly, I want to see you again tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.